Welcome to the Beauty Blend podcast, where we delve deep into the world of beauty from the inside out. I'm Stephanie.
And I'm Brittany.
And we're so happy to have you guys here again today.
Today we're coming out of the closet.
We're hitting it deep today.
Spiritual closet.
Yes. Not that we've been hiding it, but we haven't really gotten into it as much as we have been wanting to.
I say we kind of hide it a little.
We hide it. It's not,
I do. I will tell you,
Yeah.
because I did come out of the closet like a year ago.
Congratulations.
With all of this. Thank you. But then I kind of retreated back because it is like, it's hard to kind of relate to some people, I think, when you, or like the way people are going to treat you.
Oh, I agree. I wouldn't say I'm fully in the closet. I think, especially with being business owners, we tend to prioritize other things, and we do hide that side of ourselves.
I was going to say, I don't see you promoting any of this.
The spirituality.
Yeah.
I have not in a long time. And let me explain to everybody. I'm in the process of learning some other spiritual techniques, and I feel like I'm kind of waiting for some inspiration on how those are all going to combine. So I haven't promoted as much, but I also, this is going to sound stupid, but because I'm single, I do feel it's harder to talk about because I
don't want to scare people off.
Don't want to scare people away. I'm not like your typical like hippie kind of spiritual. I'm not like super hippy dippy, but I'm like you. I'm a modern spiritual girl, and I don't know how to like get that across without it seeming weird or like witchy,
I know.
witchy, or like I'm
have
gonna
the
put spells
wound
on you.
Yeah.
So yeah, I guess maybe I am in the closet. I don't know. I'm just not quite as vocal about it, but it's something that I see myself promoting a lot more in the future.
Oh yeah, both of us.
Yeah.
Sure.
And I look forward to seeing how it kind of combines with our businesses as well.
We should backtrack, though.
But yeah, I do want to get back into how we got into all this.
Yeah.
Do you want to tell your story first? How we got into spirituality?
Sure. I think actually it started from a rock bottom.
Yeah.
As it often does.
Yeah.
This was probably, oh gosh, I want to say at least 10 to 12 years ago. And it actually started off in more of a self-improvement kind of aspect or way. I'll never forget our dad gave me these CDs to listen to. At the time, I was driving like 2 hours at least twice a week. So I was like, every time I saw him, he'd ask me if I'd listen to those CDs. And every time I'm like, crap.
I need to listen.
So I need to listen because I've already feel like a failure. So like I can't listen to these.
Can't keep disappointing.
I can't keep disappointing. So slowly but surely. And like if Dad can kind of speak on this, but like those CDs, they're purposely kind of slow to like see how well you are or like how apt you are to like learning, or like are you going to just like give up kind of thing. So like takes a while till it starts to like get good to kind of get over that hump. But eventually I got through all that. But through the self-improvement, there's different like kind of spiritual things. Oh, I know what it was. This is very common. Law of attraction.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, The Secret. Sure. I think that's kind of like...
Well, and The Secret came out like as a movie and stuff probably back then too. It started to be talked about a little bit more.
Yeah, and that has like a spiritual tone to it and things like that. And like the whole manifestation, visualize...
into existence.
Yes.
And all that.
Okay. This is what actually sold me. I'll never... Like to this day, is the craziest story. So... Around this time, I was finally getting my first apartment, and we went looking, and they tell you to like take a picture of like your dream, whatever that is. So I took Dad with me, and we went to look at these apartments, and I had him take the picture of me standing in the apartment. And then there was a particular floor plan I really wanted, but it was out of my price range. And I was like, okay, well, I can like work towards that the following year when my lease renews. I can like maybe upgrade into like that fancier one bedroom. Yeah. So I didn't have a vision board at the time, but I made one literally just of the photo of me in the apartment and then the floor plan. That's all I had. I had it in my bedroom and in my bathroom. And I get a call 2 weeks before I'm supposed to move in. So at this point, I've already gone shopping. Like, I'm ready to go. Like, I know I'm getting an apartment. So it's like that, like, I had no doubt I was getting into an apartment. Like, I think that's part of it. Like, because I was already shopping. I was going through the motions if I already have it. It wasn't necessarily that floor plan. But I get a call 2 weeks before I'm supposed to move in. They're like, so we have some good news and we have some bad news. They're like, which one would you like to start with? I'm like, I need the bad news first. I need to know how, like, I'm going to pivot.
You need some time to process.
Yeah, exactly. It's like, well, the apartment that you were supposed to move into, those tenants decided to stay. So we can't give that one to you. But we have this other one. and the same move-in date and we'll honor the same price. And when they said the floor plan, my mouth like dropped. I'm like, say that again? It was literally the exact one that I had on my dream board. So after that, I was like, okay, there's something going on here.
Something behind all
this.
this.
Because at the time, I was kind of like, if it, like, it's not going to hurt me if it doesn't work.
Yeah.
But like when that happened, I was like, okay, there's some truth to whatever this
Something's happening here.
Something's happening, yeah. And so that was kind of like my big moment, I guess, or pivotal moment. And then I would say the years have kind of gone on. I would some days be, and I think we can talk about this later, but like good about like all like the self-improvement things, whether it's reading books, meditating, the list goes on, kind of, and it kind of ebbs and flows. And I think that's just kind of life and like what you're kind of going through. And then fast forward, I would say within the last 3 years, like COVID really is when it amplified for me. This is kind of funny. I didn't realize I was intuitive, but I found looking back at all these different experiences I've had, I've definitely always been intuitive. I just didn't ever acknowledge it or recognize it. And I actually believe every single person is intuitive and has the ability. But so this is I'm going to fast forward to like the last 3 years. COVID hit, and then I decided to go on a trip the following year, so 2021. And I wanted to go to Sedona because to me that's a very spiritual place, and I just love that, love it there.
Energy there.
And so it's funny because I was talking to my guides, and mind you, at the time I did not know I was like intuitive. But I told my guides my intention to going on this trip, obviously have a good time, whatever. But I also want to have some kind of spiritual transformation, whatever that means. And I kind of left it like open-ended.
You're like just something different.
Something, I don't know what that is.
Open to something being different.
And wow. I came back and I literally had a dream of like what to call my jewelry business. And I had these hits to like create like a spiritual, and kind of what started was I went to Sedona and it has all these different spiritual shops and all this jewelry. And I couldn't ever find anything that was like my style.
I agree.
And that's what kind of made, and like you were talking about, you're not like the hippie.
Like
so I wanted like a more modern version of like the jewelry. I don't want to, I'm not, granola's whatever. It's just not my, it's nothing against it. It's just not my particular style. So I was looking for something that kind of fit me. And
it's not our vibe. I feel like some people can pull off that super well. And maybe not
for me.
Yeah.
So anyway, so I started the jewelry business and I came up with the name from that when I came into me in my dream, basically. And what that did was really open me up spiritually, because then I ended up finding a spiritual mentor, which again came to me in a dream, which is kind of crazy. I know. I get a lot of downloads in my dreams. Yeah. But when I decided to join, she was doing like a group mentorship type thing. I didn't realize this at the time when I was signing up, but every single person in there was already intuitive and like reading the Akashic records, which I can get into another point. But from being surrounded, and I call it kind of like an energetic container, my gifts and abilities kind of opened up, and I was able to practice, so to speak, on them without like feeling judged or whatever. And that really is what kind of snowballed me to like where I'm at now, where I'm doing readings for people, Akashic records specifically. I can just channel though; it doesn't have to be the Akashic records. And I also energetically activate the jewelry. That's kind of what separated me.
Yeah. And I love your jewelry. I'm not
like,
just even as your sister, but I mean, the modern version of it, I wear it all the time. I'm wearing two things.
Actually, really? This I got in Sedona. I didn't make this one. I have my other Isis down here.
One. Yeah.
But this one is kind of what I was like the closest thing I could find to what was my style, so that's why I got it. But yeah, tell me a little bit about yours before
we get more into it. Okay, so mine also started with Dad. So thanks, Dad. I feel like I've always known I was like I'm an empath. That always happened. I think that's why I got into the career I got into. I've always wanted to help others and do good for others, but Dad was going down his spiritual path, and at the time he was training in certain techniques. And so when he would visit me in college, he did more like energy healing stuff. So he would practice on me in college, and I was pretty resistive. We grew up in a very traditional medicine household. I was in a healthcare degree, although I'm an occupational therapist by trade. We are very mind, body, spirit oriented, but it's still in that traditional healthcare role. So I was super kind of freaked out by what Dad was doing. And I'm sorry, Dad, but I'm like, we are definitely going through a second midlife crisis.
I'll never forget that. We have chuckled at him a few times.
I'm like, I thought we already did this years ago, and we're back at it again. So, but nothing he did was ever like painful or invasive. So I let him practice, just kind of was like resistive half the time. And I did notice it took me a lot longer. I'd say it took me even maybe like a year to really see the benefit, but even maybe longer than that. But I started to notice how it was improving my life. It was the only thing I had changed in my life. And I had noticed my anxiety had significantly decreased. I was functioning normal and college and like enjoying my life. My grades actually like skyrocketed. I graduated like a 4.0, and I was probably at least half the stress than when I was performing as a more average student. And when I graduated college, I felt like I was ready to I was tired of learning, but I was ready to learn something more like the self-improvement and the more spiritual side. So I decided to study and learn the technique that Dad was practicing. So I kind of did it with him. We kind of went to some conferences together, and at the same time, Dad had recommended some books, and I started reading those, and probably not the same CDs that you did, but I know there was a few like audios I would listen to. And then I feel like, kind of like you, it was like when I started getting into it, the universe kind of brought things into my life. So I had like a spiritual person that I had worked with to kind of develop more of my spiritual side, and worked with her like every 2 weeks or at least once a month. And that kind of helped. And from learning the energy healing technique I did at the time, and then again snowballed into learning several other techniques and incorporating those all into one. And now I will say, we'll talk about the ebbs and flows of how this looks, but I'm super excited. Again, the universe has brought another person into my life, and now I'm learning from her and learning the technique that she uses. And then even from her, I got to meet a doctor who now is wanting to teach me his technique for this next coming year. And I'm just really excited where it all brings me. And I agree, the personal development side was probably the most attractive side of it at first for me.
I think because you can see the changes in your life. Like, like I told you, I was in a bad spot. And just from doing the personal self-development, I noticed such a shift.
Total shift.
So,
because I wouldn't say, I mean, I was anxious. I was super anxious. I was struggling in college. I felt like I didn't handle life on my own well at first.
I have it on my face. From Vicky on my face.
Yeah, mine hit me really weird in college. Like I felt like I was fine. Then I went to college and I was like, what is this adulthood? And kind of panicked. And I think that I didn't know what I needed, but I'd say the spiritual stuff and that personal development helped me at least have a different mindset towards life. I mean, things have definitely not been easy the last few years, but I feel like I handle things differently at least, or I know there's more to life or more meaning behind things that happen than before. It's more of like, oh, poor me, why did bad things happen? So yeah, I'd say that's what got me into more spirituality. I will say currently, I feel like I have not practiced as much as I normally would have liked. I think I've gotten distracted by work, and just this past year has kind of been a lot for me. So I think it took me a minute to kind of get back into some.
We struggle with bridging it sometimes.
And bridging the gap there.
Yeah, that's our goal though.
Yeah. So with our wellness business, it is bridged, and I love that about it. But in the aesthetic stuff that we do, we're trying to be different. We're not even trying. We are different. Yeah. I don't think we have to try. I think we are different. And we know that beauty and confidence, there's a lot deeper of a meaning or things that are happening down in our internal selves that we want to make sure we're addressing in the clients that come to see us, because you can
like even better results.
Yeah, we know it's going to enhance their results. So we're just trying to find a good way to incorporate all that, and that's I think where we've almost stalled in our spirituality.
Yeah, because I think we're afraid of how people are going to take it.
Yes, and how are we going to present it
in a way that doesn't scare people?
Yes, don't be scared. Come here in our witchy things. No,
exactly.
We'll make you look pretty and feel pretty. Yeah, and I think that's the thing. Like what we do in aesthetics in terms of our devices and facials and all that stuff, it is going to make you look better, but I don't think that fixes the long term.
I actually think beauty is related to spirituality though. Like I think it's all correlated, and like when you see beauty like in all the things. I don't know. That's just my perspective.
There's an energy behind all that. So if you look at the energetic, meaning behind that, there is probably that beauty is being energetically released. And kind of like we talked about in one of our recent episodes, where when you're feeling confident, you're feeling good, your energy is better.
Your aura.
And everything about you. Like more things happen to you in a good way than when you're feeling crummy and don't look very good and, you're feeling down about yourself. So I do think there's a big connection between that energetic or healing side of it and how you look on the outside.
We should talk about like the different clairs, which is like the intuitive things, because I know what kind of my stronger ones are, and I'm sure you have some stronger ones.
So go ahead.
So clairvoyant.
I'd say I'm clairvoyant.
Yeah. Clairsentient, which is like
sensing,
feeling.
Definitely
and you said you've always, and this is actually funny because you're like, I've always been an empath. I'm an empath, but it was so hard for me as a young
Yeah.
kid because I'm taking on all this energy that I created like a
Yeah.
wall. So it wasn't until recently that I kind of opened myself up. I think I was always feeling other people, but I was trying really hard to like.
You may just didn't understand what
I
you
didn't
were
understand
feeling.
it, and I think I was taking on so many people's energy that's what created a lot of the anxiety.
Mine, I feel like I turned my empathy into like healing. Like I switched mine into being like I just want to help others.
That is all about like energy, like just like transmuting it, really.
Yeah, and I think that's how I approached mine. Like I'm feeling all this. How can I help people?
Yeah.
When really, honestly, I had to help myself first. That was kind of the key too. I feel like you gotta like be in a good spot yourself sometimes too, before you can really fix other people, quote unquote. But so yeah, it's like clairvoyant and clairsentient. But clairsentient is probably my strongest because even when I'm not feeling like I'm in my best spiritual self, I still am sensing a lot of things.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a big one for me.
Yeah.
What about
you? Seeing, my third eye is really strong. And I always tell people this because your imagination really is your third eye. Mm-hmm. And people always don't really, I don't think that clicks. And I didn't really realize that.
Well, we shut that off when we get older, too.
Always in my own world. You guys, how long, like since I was a kid, you guys are like, Brittany's in her own world.
You're always in your own world.
Because I was always...
Mm-hmm. Yes, that would make sense if that's your stronger one.
That's my strong one.
Yeah.
But I didn't realize that's what I was doing until I started reading for people. And I basically was just telling them, like, what I was seeing in my, quote, imagination.
Yeah.
And it always resonated with them and was significant. So I was like, oh, there's something to this.
There's actually something
coming out of this. Yeah. And I feel like everyone obviously can do that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'd say mine's more feeling. I feel a lot of things. And then I hear.
That's clairaudient.
But it's like not... direct, I will hear.
It's your own voice,
like a symbol, or I hear like one word, and sometimes I have to it's the same thing. I kind of that's the one I have to be more open to because I'm hearing it, but I don't always appreciate it, maybe, or like take the time to really understand.
Does yours sound like your own voice?
No, not really. Actually, it sounds like something else is like talking to me.
Oh, but mine sounds like my own voice. It's 11:11.
Oh, I love that. Yeah, no, I would say it sounds like a little different of a voice. Still sounds like a female's voice, though.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Because I think that's another reason why people don't realize that it's...
their own thoughts.
They think it's their own thought. And the one way you can differentiate it is what's the energy of the thought that's coming through.
Oh, okay.
If it's like a higher vibration, then you can trust that that's like your higher self or whatever. But if it's like something else, I always say return to sender. That's not mine. And and that's actually what helped me get a lot of my anxiety, relieved, because I think I was taking on a lot. I was just downloading so many different things in the ether that weren't necessarily mine. Mm. So you just gotta...
It's overwhelming.
Yeah, exactly.
Why you shut down.
Yeah.
That makes sense. Yeah, I don't feel like I have that one as much. Are there any other ones that you feel like are prevalent?
And then the crown chakra.
Yeah.
Which is basically...
downloading it in, basically.
To me, it's very similar
to
clairaudient.
kind of, yeah.
It's just like a knowing.
Yeah. Yeah, I'd say the knowingness. My biggest one's probably I sense it or feel it. But yeah, the knowingness. And sometimes you're like, why do I know that? Or, yeah. I guess we all, technically you could, you have them all. It's just which ones are more prominent.
I have all of them. It's just like which ones you
I'd say I'm more of a feeler. Especially when I'm not in my true spiritual self. I'm still feeling it. I'm not as open to the other things coming in. But dreams is a big one for me too. I used to, especially as a kid, oh my gosh, my dreams used to be so vivid, and I'd wake up and I didn't know if it was reality or a dream. And I struggled with that. And I remember saying stuff to mom, did that happen? Did that happen? And she's like, no, I don't even know what you're talking. That never existed. But in my dreams, I don't know if I was somewhere else in that timeline or what, but it was very, very real dreams to me. So I don't know. And I still obviously get downloads in my sleep.
Yeah.
My big issue is I sometimes still forget them in the morning. Yeah. So I sometimes like it if I wake up because I want to write it down or something. But
and I'll tell my guys, remind me this in the morning.
That's a good way to do it. Because I will forget.
Because I'll forget.
That's going to go away soon.
If I wake up, I'm like, okay, you'll have to write it down, or I'll just say, remind me in the morning. Yeah. I do that for a lot of things. If I need to be up and I'm afraid I'm going to sleep through alarm, I'll be like, wait, sure, I'm awake.
I do that too. That's actually one that I think for people, if they're wanting to start something and somewhere to see, that's actually a way I kind of started in the back in the day to see how it worked. Mm-hmm. I would set that intention. I think I heard that in a book or some audio of just put it out there of I want to be awake by 6:15 in the morning. Yeah. And you were woken up.
Yes.
You don't need your alarm.
I know.
Now, do I still set my alarm? Yes. Of course. Because I'm not trying to be late.
Oh, here's a fun one, too. Mm-hmm. Similar. Yeah. It's okay, so you're going downtown, for example, and parking always stresses people out. Yeah. Say I want to find a parking spot for, you could even say for free or like by meter, right in front of wherever you want to be. And I guarantee you,
it's gonna work.
It'll work.
I haven't tried that one yet.
It's nerve-wracking because you're like, is it gonna work?
You gotta trust.
You gotta trust. Yeah, exactly.
That's the big key, is
That's
trusting
a fun one.
it. But that is fun. I've had that happen. Like, you go places, you're like, we're never gonna find parking, and you have to set that intention. Like, no, parking will be easy. It'll flow through for us. Yeah. And the next thing you know, you're pulling in and someone's backing up.
Yeah.
And it's pretty cool.
It works.
So little things like that. I think paying attention to things like that in your life kind of help start that process.
Oh, I have a fun one too. One of my friends is doing right now. She loves it. So if you want to start like working with like your spirit guides, your higher self, whatever you want to call God, I like to say, say you have like a question about what to do or just something simple that you just want like a yes or no answer to. So you can say, if XYZ, fill in blank, is for my highest and greatest good, show me, and then like I pick like a color and an object. You say like a green triangle or like a pink elephant or whatever, and just wait to get the answer.
Don't go looking necessarily.
Don't go looking. Yeah, you have to kind of just open to it, and then you can also pick one if it's not. You can say, if it's not for my highest and greatest good, show me this, so you can get a no as well.
Yeah, it's
and that one's fun.
Yeah, we just did something like that in a little. Like a 21-day activation. We did do that. Simple. Yeah. And that can be hard. I think the biggest challenge in something like that is not
surrendering.
Not like looking for
the ego wants to jump in the way, and like also not putting a timeline on it, because we all feel like we want the answer now. You have to just kind of let it
let it happen.
Could be minutes, could be days.
And being okay with the fact that no may be your answer.
Yeah, exactly. Oh, I actually had that the other day. I was laughing. I'm like, I'm being so stubborn because I don't want to hear no right now.
Okay, so when I first got into a lot of this, I did a lot of the pendulum. Like, pendulum's a good way to like...
Explain what the pendulum is.
So you can like swing. It's like almost like a necklace. Carry like
usually
your energy.
Crystal, right?
Like a crystal. Yeah, you could though, if there's like a necklace you wear every day, you could like use that. Like what I have on, I could use. You just hold it in your hand, and you literally keep your hand stable, and you say, give me a yes. And it'll swing a certain way. And usually it's like, for most people, it's like swings in a circle, like counterclockwise or clockwise. And then you can say, give me a no, and it'll like swing sideways back and forth. And the pendulum does all the movement. You're not moving it at all. So that's kind of how I first practiced like intuition, probably downloading things. That was just my way of like visually seeing it. I felt like I needed like, I wanted to see it. Yeah. And so I would use this pendulum for everything, but to the point where my ego was so
you're like,
no.
Like,
things of like, this is like...
Well, like if you're thinking yes, it'll show up, yes.
Yeah, and you can definitely manipulate it in a sense. And so things I wanted to happen, like at the time I was single, so I was like, is he going to text me back? Will we hang out soon? Like stupid things with guys. Like I would want an answer, and I'd be like, yeah, they're going to text you back by 4 o'clock or something.
And this is why they're scared you're going to be a witch.
And this is why I don't tell people things.
And then she's in her apartment. Pendulum.
Text me back. I don't care if you text me back.
Oh my gosh, that's hilarious.
Yeah, so I would just like things like that, like, will we date? Will we, will I go so-and-so with this weekend? Yep. And to be so disappointed by like, you think you're getting this answer of yes, and then nothing happens, and you're like, this crap
Did that make
work.
You second guess like everything?
Just myself.
Like your abilities?
But like actually, maybe my abilities. It did not make me second guess spirituality. Sometimes it'd be like frustrating because you're like, why can't this happen? I think when you get deeper into spirituality though, you understand that things happen for a greater reason. Right. And I think that's what kept me in it. But yeah, I mean, for a minute, you're like, what the heck? Why can't this person and I be together or whatever?
There's been things I got a clear yes on that later. I remember going through, I'm like, why would this be a yes?
It's a lesson.
But it was because I needed to learn. Yes. And at the time, I'm like, what the heck?
Yes.
Like, thanks a lot, Spirit Guide.
And you're like so mad. Like, why? Why did you put me through
Or
that?
like, am I wrong? Like, is this whole thing like whatever? But then... Yes. If you can, once you look back at it, you're like, oh, it happened for this.
That's why. Or I learned this from that situation.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, even like situations like how long should you stay in something? Like whether it be a relationship or like somebody you're working with one-on-one, like how long should I continue doing this? You ask that question. Come to find out, you wish, let's say it was for me, an ex. I should have left a long time ago, right? But I kept testing, no, not time. And you're like, why didn't I leave earlier? Yeah. Because I had more to do and to learn with that person.
Yeah.
So I think when you get to that state of like understanding, it's
and also,
a heck of a lot better.
We have to say, like, well, at the end of the day, you're the creator of your life. So it's your choice if you want to stay or not. Like, if you want to experience more of that, go for it. Yeah. You're just going to have more lessons to learn. Yeah. But
your own will.
Yeah.
Yeah. You can,
exactly.
Yeah.
Free will is a thing.
Free will is a big thing. That's why we were given it. And that's the other thing. I think if it comes to someone who gets real spiritual and they're testing or, I think not that fortune telling, I love going to psychics and hearing stuff like that. I think the key to that, though, is knowing that every decision you make every single part of your day can completely change the track of your life. And not even in a bad way. It's just what you get today, what you're told today is going to happen in your future by one decision you make 5 minutes later could completely change it. So I think not getting caught up in what you're being told is going to happen in your life. I think we're here to experience life. I think where there's a lot of things we aren't necessarily need to know and should know. I think we're just supposed to just be human, and we're a spirit in a body, not a body with a spirit. So we're here to experience things for a reason. And
I have major respect for psychics, and I always say like what they're not necessarily wrong. It's just like what they're tuning into and their energy they're reading is where you're at right there in that moment. But like you said, the second you go out the door, you could make a different decision that could change the whole reading. But like, just from speaking from my point of view, so I read the Akashic Records, which is like what people say is like your soul book, which is kind of cool. So it records every thought, vibration, experience that your soul's ever experienced. And it's in what we call like the quantum field where everything exists all at once. There's no such thing as like time and space. So when I'm reading something, there's multiple different outcomes, but I can kind of gauge just by the energy, like which one would be for their highest and greatest good at that time. But I'm not necessarily like I'm not going to predict like your whole life future, but I can kind of help you in like feeling out what direction might be better fit. And I do a lot of energy work in them too, because I feel like I can not only heal like what's going on right now that you're familiar with, but also past lives, future lives, all in one go. So it's like pretty cool.
Like you get it all. Yeah, no, I agree. Yeah, and I'm definitely not dissing psychics because I still go to them and I like them. I think what I'm trying to say is taking it as a grain of salt.
Right, exactly.
And knowing that things don't get caught up in one dream or one
There's many different timelines too.
A lot of different timelines. Things change. And that's what's fun. I think that's what's fun about life. I think if we knew everything, what are we doing here? What's the point of having all the answers? So I agree. I think healing like the past, current, and future is bigger. Yeah, it's more important.
I like to like heal karmic patterns. I like to look at all that kind of
so I guess we didn't really talk about like what are because like I can list the techniques I'm trained in. What are the things that you specifically?
Akashic Records, obviously. That's my big one. And it's funny because the guides, when I first started, they would show me like energy work to do like with my hands. And people always talked about Reiki. I didn't really know what that was. I just knew it was like a mainstream, kind of like law of attraction. In my eyes, it was just everyone knew what Reiki was, but I didn't really know what it was to be honest. But just out of curiosity because of how common it was, I did end up getting my master certification in Reiki, but I found out it's really just an organized version of what I was already doing. So like
it's nice to have the name behind it.
I do have the name behind it. And like people like certifications. I actually believe you don't necessarily need to be quote certified if you trust like your guides and everything, but I do have that. And then I actually started getting into astrology a little bit. I do bring in a little bit of astrology into my readings. I'm not as fully like that's such a like that can go it goes so deep. So I'm very kind of like
that's a lot
surface, like read your natal chart and kind of I'll actually tune into your Akashic Records with your natal chart and kind of see where it wants to take me.
Yeah, it's cool.
I think that's most of what I do.
Some best, didn't you?
Oh, yeah. And best, which is kind of similar to what you do.
Synchronization technique. We're both trained in that.
Dad does that.
Dad is, yeah.
What got me doing that was helping because you can actually do it on animals too.
Yeah.
And so like I love doing it on my pets. And Reiki you can do on pets too.
A lot of the energy healing, we do it on our dog, especially when they're feeling sick.
Yeah.
Help get them
it sounds weird, but I have healed my dogs from
100%.
Like one time.
Things.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's same.
I'm like, it was kind of freaks me out sometimes when it happens, but I'm like, that's pretty cool.
It's huge. It helps get them through it. Yeah. So I'm trained in the bioenergetic synchronization. We call it BEST. That's what the acronym is for it. That's an energy healing. The emergence process, or TEP, it's similar, another energy healing. I'm trained in emotional freedom tapping. You do some tapping, don't you?
Oh,
that. So EFT is a big one.
That helped me release a lot of anxiety too.
I'll say it's anxiety for me is a big one.
What I like about EFT, so you're tapping on different meridian points and you're saying kind of like, I honor, love, and forgive myself. And so whatever like that thought that's kind of making you anxious, depressed, or whatever, you kind of forgive yourself in that action.
To reframe it.
And then you reframe it after that. So it's like releasing
and it also allows you to express the feeling you are feeling. So if you're feeling I don't know, I keep thinking ugly in my head. So like if you're feeling ugly, it gives you the allowance to like say it out loud, and then you get to reframe it and you get to forgive yourself, and then you get to reframe it.
I do like the saying out loud part too.
And I
A
think
lot of
it
it's in our
forces you to
head.
like deal with it and then get to clear it and reframe to a positive. So yeah, I think
we should make one for our listeners.
Yeah, we could do that sometime at the
Okay.
end. Yeah, maybe not today. But we'll
post on our
do one.
Instagram.
That'd
You'll
be a
have to
fun
follow
one.
us.
Yeah, we'll do a little video. And then now I'm trained in the emotion code. I'm working on getting trained in the body code. They're kind of the same. It's just like the second level. And then I actually have a doctor. I'm really excited. This is starting.
But you have to explain
month.
what the emotion code is.
Oh, the emotion code, it's very similar. Actually, BEST, TEP, and the emotion code are all very similar. And what it's really doing is working on, so feelings have frequencies to them. Every thought or feeling has a frequency. There's a cool book. It's Messages in Water. I should have brought it. But it kind of shows you how words do change, like basically our body chemistry a little bit, and it affects water and it affects us. And so what those techniques are doing, it's actually helping clear that frequency. So if you're having the feeling of insecurity or unworthiness, it's going to help clear that trapped emotion, that frequency out of your body so that you can flow and have better energy flow, basically.
Yeah, like if they Google like the word love, you can see what that looks like
should
in
bring
like
that
water
book.
and
Yeah.
like frozen water. I think you can literally Google
if you Google, it's called Messages in Water, and I forget the guy's name. Maybe our dad can let us know. But super cool book. It has visual pictures and everything in it of basically this scientist or this guy, he froze water and he put different words underneath him. So like hate, love, peace, like all kinds of different positive and negative words. And you can literally see when they put under a microscope, the shape of the molecule changes based on the words. And you can tell on the ugly words, like hate, it's an ugly crystal.
Yeah.
Like it looks really ugly. But then on a positive, it looks literally hateful. It's a terrible, ugly crystal. But then you see the crystal with love or peace or hope. It's beautiful. It's this beautiful visual. So if you look at the book or on Google, you definitely will find some cool pictures. I think that's actually a book I show a lot of people when they're not understanding these techniques that we do, these healing techniques. I'll show them that, and it just kind of helps click that idea into people's heads. It gives them a scientific thing that's happening. I think some people
I was about to go wedgie. Do you know what I was going to say?
Go ahead.
Spelling is literally the word spell.
Yes.
So I always say like your words is a spell.
Yeah. And that's why it's so, important to be careful how you even speak to yourself.
Oh, yeah.
And that's kind of what we're saying with tapping is nice because it's reframing that negative thought you may be having. It's putting that positive, which is affecting your full energy flow.
So to backtrack, the emotional code.
So basically the emotion code, BEST, and TEP, it is working on freeing those trapped emotions. It's going to help clear your energy. It's going to help that energy flow through your body more smooth. Okay. So it kind of works on that subconscious thoughts that are affecting us every day.
When I get a good healing from those, I see like outcomes change. Like
immediately.
Even like with work, if I'm like doing, let's say lead follow-up, all of a sudden I'm getting more of a positive response or more action starts to happen, whereas I may have been blocked in some way before.
Completely agree. Even just like I was sick recently and I kept getting
I wanted to talk
Yeah. I had a lot of vertigo and was not doing very good. And my dad, thankfully, all day, like didn't literally not leave my bed. So dad was you can do it from a distance. You don't have to be with me. So from a distance, he was remotely treating me. And I mean, I'd say 24 hours, I noticed a big change. Enough where I can function and work and, go about my day. Was I 100%? Not yet, but it was literally less than 24 hours.
Right.
And over a course of multiple treatments, I felt myself improving throughout the day. And if that doesn't show someone, and I did nothing else. If that doesn't show someone this stuff works, I don't know what does, because I felt like that was a pretty immediate. For myself, like years ago, before I understood stuff, I'd say it took me longer because I was having more emotional issues back then, like anxiety, depression, sleep issues, and it just took more time for me to see the change, but doesn't mean it wasn't working.
Right. At the beginning, it might take a little longer, definitely. And then it starts to go really quick.
Yes, I think I always say we got to peel back like an onion.
All the layers.
So even if you come in one day and you're like, I'm having shoulder pain, well, that may not be your body's priority, right? That day is to fix the shoulder pain.
True. I've done that with that. I'm like, I want this, but then there's other things that need to be
50 other things that need cleared before we can even help the shoulder.
One.
That is just your body warning you that other things are going on.
That's a good point.
There's a really cool, I don't know if we talked about this before, but one of the chiropractors that we learned best from back in the day, they used to do full body scans. And they had a patient of theirs who came in and was complaining of like knee pain. And they did full scan and found that actually this person had like an enlarged heart as well.
Oh,
but
wow.
this patient, their big complaint was their knee pain. So the doctor who developed this chiropractor, he was doing this technique on this patient of theirs. And, over weeks, he kept coming back in saying, well, my knee pain's still there. My knee pain's still there. So the doctor's like, okay, let's rescan you, see what's going on. Come to find out, his heart went back to normal. Even though they didn't know that's what they were fixing. The heart went back to normal.
That's crazy.
The knee pain was still there, but the body had prioritized.
Yeah.
The heart was needed
And so cool
first.
that you have like an
actual scan.
To show. Prove and show that.
Yeah, so that like was when that chiropractor just took off with this technique and became a firm believer and started furthering developing it and then teaching others. So it's just another good example. I think people like to have those hard facts of like showing like a visual, like a quantitative evidence that this works. I think that's a great example. I think your own subjective opinion on what's changing though is awesome as well.
Right.
But yeah, then this other thing I'm learning. So I think it's kind of fun. I know some people with the spirituality, it's too woo-woo, it's too out there. But the fun thing about this, there's actually a lot of science behind it.
Yeah, you can bring it back to science.
Oh my gosh, yes, so much so. And so this technique I get to learn here soon, it's called biohealth. I'm really excited. It's from another doctor. And it's combining that scientific approach about how different like medications or diseases or tissues that are infected can affect us energetically as well. And how if we're exposed, like a weird example is like mono. I'm using this as a personal example. Yeah. Apparently I must have had mono years and years ago, not known. And
I was really tired.
Which I'm just tired. And I've been complaining, especially this past year. I've been saying I'm so exhausted. I feel like I could fall asleep.
Wait, you still have it?
Well, so this is what's interesting. Okay. So I started going to this doctor. I didn't know I had mono. I didn't know. I've just had a lot of fatigue in my life. Always thought it was maybe more thyroid related.
Oh.
So this doctor was doing all his tests and stuff on me, and he actually has like live tissue samples of different diseases. So mono is one of them. And he puts it. It's in a vial, so it's not touching me, but it puts it like near your body, and my body responded, basically saying that residually I still have mono in my cells. My body did not fully get rid of it, which is why I had fatigue.
Oh, wow.
And it's interesting because ever since he cleared that with his method, I've not felt fatigue like I have. I used to like feel like I could fall asleep at 2 o'clock, take a nap from 2 to 4. And since I feel like he's cleared that even just 2 months ago, I've noticed a huge difference.
So that's like on a cellular level?
So it's on a so I think it's just cool kind of how the spirituality isn't just all out there and woo-woo. It's definitely more scientific. But I know I just went down a whole rabbit hole.
I want to hear like all your...
I definitely want to have a guest speaker on sometime too who can speak more into like the science and bridge that gap between the science and the spirituality, because I think that would be a fun topic for us.
Well, we're going to have our dad on.
And our dad
next.
too. Yes.
And I think that's a good kind of...
I think it's a good... Do you want to talk about the ebbs and flows, or we feel like we addressed that?
It's life.
Yeah. Yeah, I think what we just want to say is if you're into it or when you get into it, don't
be hard on yourself.
Be hard on yourself. If you get in a phase of life where you don't feel like you're practicing as much or exploring it as much, it's okay. Like
one day you could be meditating, drinking your green juice, and the next you could be taking shots of vodka at the club. It's all okay.
It's totally okay. I don't know. I feel like that's important for people.
We have a nice balance.
That's why we consider ourselves the modern versions of this, because we still like to be human and enjoy
we're still
life.
very human.
And I think that's what makes it fun. But yeah, I think we gave you a lot of tips. I think I do have like a recommendation for someone, a book at least. One that Messages in Water is a great book to go out and look for. The book that got me like really into it is called Ask and It Is Given.
I was going to say that one.
And that's a big one. I feel like everyone gives people that book. To start off, it gives a really good explanation behind just like spirituality, kind of how almost kind of like a law of attraction kind of
funny
works.
Because I literally was just saying, ask your guides for XYZ.
Yes,
and that's see how it comes through. And that book is kind of...
And that's the other thing with spirituality. Some people just say, well, you got to do this, and they don't really teach you how to do it. This book is awesome because it has like exercises and stuff in it too to help you start developing your skills. And I think it's just a great book for people to start with.
You should go back to that one. I think that was one of the very first ones I read like 12 years ago. It'd be cool to read it now with new eyes.
Yeah, and they say to read those books every now and then later, because you'll get more out of it than you got the first time, or something different from it. So that'd be my tip, is to start maybe one of those two books or both of them.
I love that.
Yeah. But from here,
mine would just be kind of tune into your own body and your own self, and like get really grounded in your body and see kind of what intuitive hits you might get.
I think that's
and trusting like what's kind of coming through.
Yeah, trust yourself. Well, I'm glad we got to finally show you guys this side of us in the spirituality route. It's something that's really important to us.
Yeah.
We hope to talk about it more soon.
You'll hear definitely more.
Definitely more.
Bye, beauties.
Boxland Media. Think big.